Good morning, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Spaniard Show. Yes, them are some deer heads. Them are some deer mounts behind me. I'm back home for Thanksgiving. Now, if you can imagine the day after Thanksgiving, if you can imagine the Home Alone house, that's essentially what this is. So it's quite possible. So yesterday I recorded I recorded outside on my porch, and it was 20 degrees yesterday morning, and I was freezing cold. And so this morning, I'm not going to record outside on the porch or outside, period. So I am recording in our family room at my parents' house. This is where I grew up. And just over there, about 10 feet, is the wood stove. The wood stove in this room saw many of nights and early mornings and days of slapping on the sweats and getting busy losing weight. It was not fun, but it was. Anyhow, why I'm telling you this is it's quite possible that any time someone's going to storm through that door, I don't know, storm through that door. So just bear with me here. We're going to hop into today's AMXbooks. Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. 1, 2, 3, go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the day after Thanksgiving Spaniard Show. This is AMXbooks 620. I was just on Facebook Live. I'm recording from my parents' house, and it's quite possible that at any time during the next 8 minutes, someone's going to bust through one of the doors in these rooms, so bear with me. Let's get down to business. Let's get back to studying the book Unplugged. And this whole book is about detaching from our technology, detaching from our wearable devices or watchable devices that track every workout, every movement, give us metrics. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not throwing it in the trash can, but it's using it in a mindful and aware, coherent way, not just going with it. One of the things that I wanted to start out with talking about today is this underlying theme of ownership and accountability that lies in this book. A couple different points they talk about this idea of basically giving up our ownership of ourselves and kind of handing it over to technology, and how that reflects on us, both our minds, our psychology, our physiology, things that are actually happening to our body and our senses and the physical components of our body. And you can't help if it is this holiday weekend, holiday vacation, a lot of extra TV time. You can't help but hear all these commercials for Alexa and this one and that one and the other thing where really we're just becoming people who potentially sit and say orders, and then things are done for us, show up at our door, food is basically cooked for us, etc. It's a slippery slope. So I think reading a book like this, Unplugged, gives us this awareness, or gives us this reminder, oh hey, don't just fast track everything. There is some work to be done. There is some actual not fast tracking, some slow tracking that we should do. I'm reading the book The Boys in the Boat that I'll be covering next on AMXbooks, and that book, it's about the 1936 Olympic rowing team from the U.S. and right now it's in their roots, where they come from, the early 1900s, the early mid 1900s. Just what a tough time in America it was, and tough time in the world. And just it really, I got chills right now thinking about just the hard work of it and just the value of that work. Let's get back to the underlying theme of ownership and accountability going on in this book. Quote, one quick way to reclaim that, right, our decision making, one quick way to reclaim that is to reassert our right to make decisions about our own well-being. It's so easy to get lost and caught up in the slippery slope of just handing over decisions. I remember when I was fighting, I got to a point where I couldn't make a decision. I didn't make a decision. It was my brother, it was my manager, Mike. It would just, they would make decisions and come to me and tell me, and I'd say, okay, yeah. So I forgot how to make a decision. And the book saying one quick way to reclaim our ownership, right? You are 100% responsible for your life. Think back to success principle number 1. Take 100% ownership for your life. Make those decisions about your own well-being. There's a saying that I love to say that's earn the right to trust your gut. Earn the right to trust your gut. Think of that. Earn the right to trust your gut. Well, how do you earn the right to trust your gut? Well, it's based on two things. It's paramount. Here's 2 ways you can do it. 1, you can't have earned the right by having pushed yourself to insane limits, right? If you're someone who does something that's verifiably tough, verifiably hardcore, verifiably against the grain, against the norm, you've earned it, right? You've earned it. Adventure racing, climbing mountains, wrestling, fighting, high-level competition, whatever. You've earned the right. You've walked the walk. You've earned it. I'm not here to tell you any differently. Second thing, if you're not that person, if you're thinking, well, I'm not that person, right? I don't go out on my shield. I'm just kind of trying to get by and step up my game a little bit. How about this? How about you create an awareness? How about you earn the right to trust your gut by creating an awareness of that, right? Of that state, by putting yourself around people who do. Find people, read books, watch this show, watch other shows, listen to other shows. Find people who push themselves to the limit and be around them, because it's going to make you reflect upon yourself, and it's going to give you a pretty accurate assessment of where you stand in that process. Another thing I wanted to point out here, and this is more so perspective from me to you, comes from the book to me to you, experience it in my own life. We talk a lot about social media, okay, and how we look at social media, and that kind of has a side effect of us not actually living our life, but rather living vicariously through other people's lives while we're actually, as I'm sitting on the couch this morning, while we're sitting on the couch. But something I want to point out here that they point out in the book is that oftentimes the highest performers, so the people who look the best, the people who perform the best, the people who are the champions, I'm thinking Ben Roethlisberger off the top of my head. I'm thinking Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. For some reason, I'm thinking these quarterbacks, but even thinking professional fighters. Oftentimes the highest performers are not the healthiest people. So we have these images, actual images on Instagram, but then we have these images, I know I do, in my head of these people. But I know from experience, look, as a state level wrestler and a national level wrestler and a world level professional fighter, sometimes we're like the unhealthiest, because we're so driven for one thing to perform during that 15 minutes that overall health and wellness is kind of a sidebar. It's perform at this moment for this amount of time. And that's not a normal way of going about things. I can remember, I can't even remember how many times, you'd stand up in the middle of wrestling season, almost fall over because you're so dehydrated, or after training and you cool down, you can't even stand up, your back hurts so bad, or your arms, your legs, your knees hurt so bad. So understand that those people who are the healthiest looking are oftentimes not the healthiest. There was a really neat statistic in here coming from an ER doctor, Frank Merritt. They cite him in the book Unplugged. Through his work with athletes, high-level athletes, and everyday people, he's an ER doctor, he found that the healthiest people were farmers and gardeners. Isn't that a crazy stat or a crazy thing to think about? Why was the healthiest sector of people farmers and gardeners? There were a couple reasons. One, they're outside a lot. Two, they're moving a lot. They're in varied positions, picking up, putting down, kneeling down, standing up, utilizing their body. They have a few high-intensity instances per day, and they have a strong sense of purpose. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't want to climb a mountain, it doesn't matter. As per the book Unplugged, as per emergency room Dr. Frank Merritt, the healthiest people he found were farmers and gardeners. Come on, get moving, people. And the last thing I want to talk about, pays homage. It's football season. It's the day after Thanksgiving, a football time of year. There was a really neat story in here about Archie Manning, former NFL player, and his sons Eli and Peyton Manning. And it said in the book that after his NFL career, he wanted to spend a lot of time with his sons. So naturally, he did what he does best. So he wanted to spend time with his sons, so he played football with his sons. A byproduct of that is that they were around football. They handled a football more than the average kid. A byproduct of that is 2 of his 3 sons developed into Super Bowl champions. 2 out of 3 NFL quarterback Super Bowl champions. But it wasn't because he said from the beginning, I want to raise 2 Super Bowl champions. It was, I want to spend time with my sons. What I took from this, what's giving me chills right now, is thinking about this idea of your intent. Like, what is your intent? What is your pure desire? What is your pure intent? Is it just to look good, to have a six-pack, or is it to live a healthy life so that you can help other people and give off positive energy to the world? I think the intent there is the fundamental piece of that pumpkin pie. This has been AMXbooks 620. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. I'll be back on Monday with AMXbooks 621. And don't forget, folks, there's a new way to support the show. Patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. I'll see you Monday. Whew, I'm sweating. I'm sweating because of that wood stove right there. Whew, whew. All right, folks. I got some more work to do before the kids wake up. I'll see you on Monday. Don't forget, tomorrow AMX Weekly, where are we at? I think 89 comes out. So AMXbooks, AMX Kids, learning from books, learning from kids' books. AMX Weekly is putting those things together. AMX Talks, my keynotes, dreadisodes, solosodes, interviews. We're bringing all the information, all the knowledge, of all the wisdom of the world to you. See ya.